Political leaders clash on tone and speech. This week showed the full spectrum of American political communication. Utah Governor Spencer Cox urged civility after the Kirk killing, pleading for dialogue and restraint. But Steve Bannon mocked him, sneering at the very idea of unity. Barack Obama weighed in, warning that political violence and democratic erosion are reaching a crisis point. Meanwhile, Pam Bondi triggered backlash by suggesting hate speech isn't free speech, raising alarms about government limits on expression. And President Trump, never missing a chance to escalate, threatened liberal nonprofits with investigations and retaliation. Add to this the growing number of journalists punished simply for speaking critically. The space for free expression is shrinking while the rewards for outrage keep growing. Okay, what's the real message here? If you tell yourself, I believe in free speech, and you tell yourself, anyone who criticizes Charlie Kirk should be punished, guess what? You don't really believe in free speech. I need that to really sink into folks, because it's two ideas and it seems to be confusing people, but they really do go together. I have to say this again. If you tell yourself, I am a believer in free speech, and you tell yourself, if somebody says something I don't like that I think is hateful about Charlie Kirk, they should be punished, you don't believe in freedom of speech. It has to be said. I realize some of you are going to go, well, CJ, that's crazy. Of course I'm for freedom of speech if it means saying that Hillary Clinton is old and fat and ugly. I'm all in favor of it then. I'm all in favor of freedom of speech if it means I can say there's a kooky guy in a pizza parlor in Washington and it's a pedophile ring and every Democrat's a part of it. I'm all in favor of that. I'm all in favor of calling someone a pedophile just because I don't like them. Yeah, I'm in favor of free speech. Oh, but you want to criticize somebody I like. You want to quote them accurately in a way that makes them seem hateful. Oh, you deserve to lose your job. That, unfortunately, is what's happening here. Now, especially troubling is what's happening to this poor guy, this Republican governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, who made calls for civility, tried to de-escalate tensions after the assassination in his state. And how did someone like a Steve Bannon react? Mocked him, sneered at him, rejected the idea. No, we had to be war, 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 war. War room, war. This is crazy, folks. And when you've got a leader, in this case, a Republican leader, and hey, I call it like I see it objectively. Here's a Republican leader doing the right thing, asking people to calm down, asking people to de-escalate, and he's mocked by members of his own party. If you've seen an example of that in any other party, let me know. I would love to hear it. But we have these people now. I'm happy to see Governor Cox using the phrase, the well-known Professor G, Scott Galloway, on his podcast regularly use it. Conflict merchants, people who like to make money out of promoting conflict. And Steve Bannon, he's gone to prison for doing that. He's always looking for another way of making money, creating a war. That's the name of his show, War Room. And they want to find ways of dividing Americans, of dividing people, of saying, okay, here's an issue where we disagree a little. Now we have to go to war, have a civil war, as Marjorie Taylor Greene talks about. And we see rhetoric from no lesser a personage than the President of the United States referring to people as vermin, as we saw a Fox News commentator this week talk about people he didn't like, just kill them. We've seen that from Fox News hosts. So we've also seen, which is quite troubling, is a Washington Post columnist was fired this week. Now, was she fired for praising what happened to Charlie Kirk? No, she condemned those actions. What she was guilty of was quoting accurately certain things Charlie Kirk had said in the past. For that, she was fired. So, my friends, we hear all the time about cancel culture, how it's allegedly this evil perpetuated by the left. I'm here to tell you, cancel culture is thriving better than ever. And it's at this particular moment in our history, things change throughout different periods of time. It is entirely a right-wing phenomenon. It's right-wing wokeism. We've now reached a point where if someone has any negative opinion about Charlie Kirk, if they want to talk about the things he said about black people and black airline pilots or Martin Luther King, if they simply want to quote him accurately, they can see their job gone. They can be canceled. They can be fired. So we're not even talking about making a distasteful joke. We're talking about serious people who, first of all, condemn, as I have, I condemn all assassinations, including this one. So people start off condemning the violence, condemning the assassination, and then saying, before we give this person a Presidential Medal of Honor, before we canonize this person, before we say this person is the second coming of Martin Luther King Jr. and should be put up on the grand pedestal of civic leaders, maybe we should actually look at some of the quotes he said that were by any stretch, by any interpretation, wildly hateful and demagogic and divisive. And those people are being shut down. Those people are being canceled. Those people are being fired. Those people are being attacked viciously because it suits the needs of a particular political party in power and their ideological agenda. So this, my friends, is extraordinarily dangerous. And this is what authoritarians do, is to say, okay, freedom of speech is great as long as you say I'm great, as long as you attack the people I want to attack. But if you say anything negative about me or people I like, people seen as my allies, well, now you're guilty of thought crime. Now you're guilty of other crimes. We're coming after you. We're going to get you fired. And I just want to, again, step back and let people realize, to date, I have never seen a single shred of evidence that a single prominent Democratic elected official, any Democratic elected member of Congress, any prominent media figure who is a centrist, a liberal, a progressive, any non-MAGA media figure rejoice or laugh at this political assassination. That would be obnoxious, but you know what? If you believe in free speech, you have to believe in obnoxious free speech. But I haven't seen that. Can you pinpoint some crank who has 3 followers on TikTok that no one's ever heard of from his basement saying, yes, I'm really glad this atrocity? Yeah, I'm sure you can find it. Just as you could when the Democratic member of the state legislature in Minnesota was brutally murdered by a right-wing extremist earlier this year. You could find certain Republicans and MAGA members with 3 followers saying, oh, this is a wonderful thing. But in general, you didn't see prominent conservatives in the media or members of Congress praising that assassination of a Republican, of a Democratic leader. And you didn't see Democrats and liberals and progressives just saying, well, all Republicans are, and all MAGA members are celebrating what happened to this Minnesota member of. You didn't see that. You didn't see them creating straw men to wage an ideological war. And that is unfortunately exactly what we see going on here. And it's a tragedy to see people exploiting this murder, this assassination, to score political points and to make more money selling merch. And that is, unfortunately, exactly what's going on here.